college football is having the wrong fight. Everybody is screaming about 12 teams, 16 teams, 24 teams. And I'm sitting here like, why? Why are we sitting here arguing about the size of the bracket when the sport can't even agree about the rules? Because expanding the playoffs doesn't fix a broken system. It just gives you a bigger broken system. That is the real issue. Not the number, the structure. College football is the only major sport where everybody is chasing the same championship, but everybody isn't taking the same road to get there. In the NFL, the path is clear. In the NBA, the path is clear. In Major League Baseball, the path is clear. You know your division. You know your standings. You know what gets you into the playoffs. And you know what gets you eliminated. College football plays the whole season, lets everybody operate under different conditions, then brings out a committee like, all right, tell us who looked better. That's not a playoff system. That's a debate show with a trophy attached to it. And the committee is not some genius solution. The committee is proof that the structure failed. Because if the rules were clear, you wouldn't need a room full of people trying to explain how one team's 10-2 is better than another team's 10-2. The sport would already know. That's what rules are for. And before anybody tries to twist this into conference propaganda, let me squash that right now. This is not me saying that the SEC deserves special treatment. This is not me saying that the Big Ten deserves special treatment. This is not me saying that Notre Dame deserves special treatment. I'm saying that nobody should get special treatment. Not one conference, not one brand, not one independent, nobody. If everybody's playing for the same trophy, everybody should have to qualify through the same type of system. That shouldn't be controversial. That should be common sense. My cleanest version is simple. If the playoff is 16 teams, you take 4 teams from each conference. 4 from the SEC, 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the ACC, 4 from the Big 12. And that's 16. Finish top 4 in the league, you're in. And yeah, that's harsh. Good. Sports are supposed to be harsh. Somebody always gets left out. The difference is, in a real system, you know why. You didn't finish high enough. That's not politics. That's standings. And if they want 24 teams, fine. Same idea. 6 teams from each conference. 6 from the ACC, 6 from the Big 12, 6 from the SEC, 6 from the Big 10. It's not complicated. That's 24. Clean. Automatic. No mystery. No committee inventing the back half of the bracket. And this is where people try to sneak the old system back in. No. They'll say, well, what about at-large bids? No. That's a trap door. The second you add at-large bids, somebody has to pick them. So who picks them? The committee? Who decides if the 5th SEC team is better than the 4th ACC team? The committee? Who decides if Notre Dame's schedule is good enough? The committee? Who decides if the Big Ten deserves it over somebody who played a tougher non-conference? The committee? So now you're pretending to fix the playoffs while leaving the same politics underneath it. That's not reform. That's a costume change. And I already know the pushback. What if the 5th best team in the SEC is better than the 4th best team from the ACC? Maybe they are. Some years, they probably will be. But that's how a playoff works. Good teams get left out when they don't finish high enough in their own league. Nobody stops the NBA playoffs and says, actually, the 9th seed feels more dangerous than the 8th seed. Nobody calls a committee after the NFL season and says, we know this team missed the playoffs, but on a neutral field, we feel like they're better. No, you live with the standings. That is the price of having rules. College football hates that price because college football is addicted to arguments. It loves weekly rankings. It loves the outrage. It loves fan bases screaming about disrespect. It loves controversy because controversy becomes content and content becomes money. But controversy is not fairness. It is just noise that sells. Now let's talk about the scheduling part, because this is where the whole thing gets exposed. The Big Ten plays 9 conference games. The SEC, ACC, and Big 12 also play 9 conference games. So people look at that and say, same thing. No, it's actually not, because the Big Ten doesn't have to play an extra Power 4 opponent every year. The SEC does. That is not me asking for anyone to cry for the SEC. That's not the point. The point is, those are 2 different standards. LSU plays Clemson. Florida plays Florida State. Georgia plays Georgia Tech. South Carolina plays Clemson. Wow, it's almost like Clemson has 2 extra Power 4 games. Interesting. Those are real games. Losable games. Resume damaging games. That is extra risk built into the schedule. So if college football wants that to be the standard, then make it the standard for everybody. If it doesn't want that to be the standard, then don't make one league do it and the others not have to. Pick one. Because what makes no sense is allowing conferences to take different roads. Then asking the committee to pretend like the finish line is equal. This is how you get the same dumb argument every year. One team has a better record. Another team played a harder schedule. One team has a bigger brand. Another team has a better win. One team looked better. Another team felt better. Bro, what are we doing? This is supposed to be a sport, not a court case. And that's why Greg Sankey is weird to me. I understand why the SEC doesn't want 24 teams just because the Big Ten does. At some point, if the field gets too big, the regular season starts losing its edge. That's a fair point. But the SEC is also choosing a harder scheduling model. 9 conference games, plus the extra Power 4 opponent. So if you're going to make your own teams run a more difficult race, why are you arguing for the smallest door at the end? That is a contradiction. The answer isn't to give the SEC bonus points. The answer is not to hand the SEC extra playoff spots. The answer is to make everybody carry the same weight. That's a clean fix. But that is not what this fight is really about. This is about control. Tony Petitti isn't pushing for 24 teams because he woke up one morning and decided he wanted fairness. Come on. 24 teams means more playoff games. More games means more TV inventory. More inventory means more money. More money means more leverage. And more spots means more Big Ten teams have a path into the field. This is not charity. This is business. And the ACC and the Big 12, of course they want a bigger playoff. Why wouldn't they? A smaller field means those conferences get 1, maybe 2 if they're lucky teams into the playoff. A 24-team field gives them more access, more relevance, more fan bases invested, and more programs selling playoff hope. That is obvious. Everybody at the table has a motive. The Big Ten wants inventory. The SEC wants schedule strength protected. The ACC and the Big 12 want more access. Notre Dame wants independence and playoff entry at the same time. So fans need to stop falling for the idea that this is some noble argument for the betterment of the sport. It is money. It is leverage. It's television. It's control. Fairness only shows up when it helps somebody's side. And Notre Dame is the easiest example. Not the main point, the example. If Notre Dame wants to be independent, fine. I'm okay with that. Stay independent. Keep tradition. Keep the TV deal. keep the brand. Nobody's saying that Notre Dame can't be Notre Dame. But if the playoff is going to run through conference qualification, then you don't get to stand outside the conference structure and still demand a path into the championship. That makes no sense. The Harlem Globetrotters don't get to show up in June and play in the NBA Finals. Why? Because they're not in the NBA. They don't play an NBA schedule. They are not competing under the NBA structure. So why does college football act like it's offensive to say Notre Dame should have to join a conference if they want access to the playoff? That's not anti-Notre Dame. That's basic sport logic. You want to play for the trophy? Get in the structure. Play the schedule. Enter the standings. Earn your spot like everybody else. But college football has made exceptions for so long that basic fairness sounds radical. That is the sickness of the sport. College football wants the money of a professional playoff without the discipline of a professional system. It wants expansion money. It wants ranking drama. It wants independent tradition. It wants brand power. It wants access arguments. And when you try to have everything at once, you end up with this. A sport where the playoff argument is not really about the playoff. It's about who gets power, who gets inventory, who gets access, who gets protected. And fans are stuck arguing about the number on a bracket, while the real issue is sitting right in front of our faces. So no, I don't care if the playoff is 6, 12, 24, 48, 72. It doesn't matter. Because until everybody is earning the championship through the same structure, the bracket size is just a distraction. College football isn't arguing about how to fix the playoff. It's arguing about how big the mess should be.